Please go ahead, sir.
Thanks, Carla. Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome to the UFC 141 media conference call. UFC 141 takes place Friday, December 30th from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Don't forget, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific for the pay-per-view times, and again, this show is on a Friday. We're going to get things kicked off right away. We have Brock Lesnar and Alistair Overeem on the call. Carla, if you wouldn't mind, let's fire this thing up for questions.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you wish to ask a question, you may do so by pressing star 1 on your telephone keypad. Once again, that's star 1 to ask a question, and if you are on a speakerphone, please depress your mute function before pressing the corresponding digits. We'll pause for just a moment. And we'll take our first question from John Morgan with MMAJunkie.com.
Thank you. If I can start with Alistair, please. Alistair, obviously it's been a tough week for you with your family and all the distractions. I'm just curious if you can kind of put into words what this past week has been like and dealing with all the situation that you had to.
Well, the past week has been, somewhat hectic, although I could keep the focus on training. I did put the work in this week. I went up in Mount England to do the urine test. Yeah, other than that, I try to keep it as plain and simple as normal. It's 12 days up until the fight. So, basically training, relaxing. Of course, my mother's situation, other family, and, this test, but that's already a week ago almost.
Absolutely. And do you feel like it's affected your training routine? You said it was just a quick trip to England for the test and that sort of thing, but has it been a major concern for you in your preparation?
No. Thing is, I started on time with my preparation. I already started in August. So I put the work in overall. My conditioning is there, my shape is there, my sharpness is there. I'm good to go.
And lastly, I know the accusations and the rumors and the questions are not new to you, but how does it make you feel when people address those concerns with you? Do you feel they're being legitimate? They have a right to ask questions or not?
Everybody has a right to ask whatever they want, and I have a right to respond or to ignore. Thing is, I'm very busy with my career. It's not only just training. It's a lot of other stuff come on top of it, which is assembling the team, PR, doing all these interviews. So I'm very occupied with that, and I simply don't have the time to get into all these allegations. Usually they're done over internet. People that I don't even know, I've never even met. If the thing is, if people would come up to me and they would start a discussion about it, fine, I'll explain my side of the story and we'll deal with it. But usually it's over internet, there's all these comments, and I don't have time to get in all of that.
Great, thank you, Alistair. And if I can follow up with Brock, please. Brock, I know you're not a big internet guy, but have you followed along with all this, and has it provided any distraction for you in your preparation?
No, I mean, I've been dealing with the same accusations my whole life. I don't being part of the spotlight and being, I guess, with the internet and everything nowadays, and being social media and everybody knows everything. It's part of the lifestyle. It comes with the territory. So. I've been used to it for many years now, so I haven't even followed much about what's going on with Alistair. So
absolutely, and Brock, the last time we saw you come back from a long layoff, obviously you had some great jiu-jitsu skills in that Carwin fight. What's been the focus for you this time around during your time off, and do you think we can expect to see anything new from you in this fight?
Well, I've had plenty of time to train and. Being healthy and once again motivated to, I've been able to just work on a lot of different things. Like this is a sport that you have to evolve in and you have to get better if you're going to stay on top in this organization.
For sure, and finally, Brock, that was a great fight for you, but you did struggle in the opening round of that fight. Do you think that was a result of, timing issues from the layoff? We hear about cage rust and that sort of thing, and if so, how do you combat that this time around?
Well, we put lots of hours in the octagon in training, so lots of sparring and lots of grappling and lots of jiu-jitsu sessions. And so, I mean, definitely it hasn't been lack of trying here. So I'm coming into this fight gonna do I'm excited for it, and I can't wait to get back in the octagon.
Great, thank you both, gentlemen.
And once again, that's star one if you do have a question. And now we'll open the line up to Damon Martin with MMAweekly.com.
Yeah, first question is for Brock. You just kind of mentioned, you do stay off the internet, you don't get into those things. I mean, you talk about distractions. Does that help you, though, the fact that you don't pay attention to that stuff, that you're not really seeing on a daily basis what anybody's saying, really?
Well, I mean, obviously it's kind of hard to get away, but I've pretty much centralized myself just to my family and on my ranch, and so I really don't know what's going on in the outside scheme of things. Right now I'm focused on the fight and my family and the holidays and trying to live a somewhat normal life, other than being a UFC fighter. So, you've got to be able to manage everything and stay on top of what's most important, and that's the fight and my family and the holidays right now.
And for you, obviously, you've had a very positive outlook, dealing with the illness and everything. But at the same time, the time off and coming back with this fight, do you feel like you need to make a certain statement in this fight to not only show that you're back, but to obviously, kind of send a message to Junior or whoever else in the heavyweight division that, Brock Lesnar is still, the baddest man on the planet, so to speak?
Well, this is a dog-eat-dog division, and it's definitely getting more competitive. So I've got to be more competitive, but I'm going to go out and try to do my best, try to win this fight, and that's really all that I can try to control, But I mean, I can't. As far as statements, that's up to you guys. Whatever statement you want to make out of it.
And a quick couple questions for Alistair. Alistair, beyond anything else you've been dealing with lately, you were training in the United States, working at Extreme Couture. Obviously, you had to go home when you found out that your mom was sick. I mean, how is your training going back there? I know you've switched teams, so I mean, how have you been able to train, or who have you been working with since returning home to Holland?
Well, I don't really talk about my preparation, so I don't tell who I'm training with, who not. I was just with Aaron on the show. Some guy tweeted a picture on, so if you want an answer, I suggest you look on Twitter. So I can just say that I feel good mentally and physically. I'm strong, I'm heavy, I'm sharp. I'm sparring with wrestling guys, I'll give you that, and it's going well. We're working on that again.
And kind of the same question I have for Brock, we've seen a lot of guys come to the UFC, be it from Pride or other organizations, and they seem to struggle in their first fight out, whether it's the spotlight or the level of competition, whatever it is. Kind of the same question I asked for him, is there a certain statement to be made in this fight to show that, obviously you are, you believe you're the number one heavyweight in the world, and there's a certain statement to be made in this fight?
Damon, who was that question for?
For Alistair.
Oh, for me. Oh, sorry. Well, I've been fighting in the States before because I fought for Strikeforce, I believe, 4 or 5 times. So, yeah, and the pressure, I don't really see it as a pressure. Of course, UFC is 100 times bigger than Strikeforce. UFC is huge. There's a lot of media attention on it. But the thing is, the nice aspect about me is the bigger the fight is, the bigger the media attention, the more people come to watch, the better that I score. The better I achieve in the ring. So the bigger it is, the better for me. Is there a pressure the first fight in the UFC? Of course there's a pressure, but that pressure, the same pressure is on Brock. I mean, one of us is going to go take a step up, and one of us is going to take a step down.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys.
And now we'll go to Dave Diebert with Post Media News.
To you guys. question for Brock. Being at the arena live for the Fox network debut. Now, unless there's something that I missed along the way, I think that was your first live event since you fought Kane. Being back in the arena and being around that buzz, big fight, being involved in that, did that give you a little bit of a charge, a little bit of a rev, being back in and around a big fight night?
Absolutely. It's the old saying, you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. And for me, getting back in there felt, it felt wonderful.
Okay.
The atmosphere was great. Of course, I'm a competitor, and everything felt good. There was definitely a lot of electricity in the air.
Now you've been almost through this essentially exact same thing before. What do you take in terms of experiencing the long layoff and recovering from your issues? What do you take from having gone through this one time before?
Well, I mean, I just try to be as prepared as I can with it. I feel good, and I guess you just got to roll with the punches. Be able to roll, be able to adapt and stay focused on what's most important. I guess that's what I learned the first time.
Okay.
For the first time, my health was the most important thing to worry about, and now that I feel good about that, it's the fighting and everything else.
Now, I'm going to use the term easier just for lack of a better term, but having been through it one time before, was it any easier going through the same thing again, or was it just as frustrating, just as challenging?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Well, I mean, having gone through it before, I said I'm using the term easier, but I don't know if that's the right word. But having gone through it once before, was it any easier? Having to go through a lot of the same challenges again. Were you able to handle it any different or any better?
I don't know if I would call it. There was nothing easy really about it,
Right, and I use that for lack of a better word, maybe.
I don't know. It's. I guess now the first time, I never had any surgery or I never had anything done like the second time. The guy just wants to be healthy. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So, I'm just glad to feel good.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much, Brock.
Thank you.
And now we'll go to Dave Meltzer with Yahoo Sports.
This is for Brock. One of the things that something I just brought up, the surgery and everything. I mean, do you think back at all and ever think maybe I should have gotten the surgery earlier, or is it just one of those things where it was a decision and you can't live in the past anyway?
Yeah, looking back, hindsight, you could do things differently, but I don't, I accomplished a lot in that year, and you got to take the good with the bad. So that's where we were. We were trying to figure out what we should do and how we should approach it, and you live with your decision.
Can you, and I don't know if you can actually do this, but could you say on a percentage basis, if you compare how you felt going into the Kane fight or the Carwin fight or even the Mir fight and how you feel today, a couple, 12 days out or whatever it is, 11 days out. I mean, can you say I'm 10% better, 30% better, or just kind of describe how much better or the same that you feel compared to those other fights?
I really can't. All I can say is that I've had a great camp and, this is the best I've felt in a long time. If I had to put a percentage on it, I don't even know,
And for Alistair, you've mentioned, and actually Brock has too, I think both of you have kind of mentioned in different things that you don't expect it to be a long fight. Don't expect maybe. I think you mentioned you don't expect it to get out of the second into the third round. Is there any, what is there any, change in your thought on that, Alistair, on that, or is that kind of like what your mentality is right now on the fight?
Yeah, well, I'm prepared for the 5 rounds. I've been doing the 5 rounds forever now, it seems. But looking at myself, the type of fighter that I am, looking at Brock, the type of fighter he is, looking at both our characters, we're aggressive. And we're not the type of guys who back up, if you know what I mean. We're fighters. We want to finish fights. And, I'm going to be doing that December 30th. I expect him to be doing that. So I don't see it really going past the first or the second round maximum.
And Brock, do you have any kind of thoughts on that?
No, I feel the same. This is a heavyweight fight that we're both going in to finish this fight. I don't foresee it going 5 rounds.
Okay, thanks both of you guys.
And once again, that's star 1 if you do have a question. And now we'll hear from Richard Hunter with KRLD-FM.
Yeah, hi. First question for Brock. Brock, are you at all surprised that some odds makers have you as an underdog in this fight, given the fact that, Alistair hasn't fought in the UFC? And how much of that do you attribute to your second health scare and, maybe just unknowns regarding your situation outside the cage as opposed to your skills inside?
It really doesn't matter to me, underdog or top pick. I really don't. It doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, somebody's going to enter on December 30th and win or lose, and that's the beauty of this sport. So both, my intentions are to win, and I'm sure that those are Alistair's.
I think a lot of people probably see your key to victory is maybe the ground game, avoiding Alistair's striking game. Do you think that as you look back in your career in the UFC, because you have been as successful as you have on your feet, that maybe the wrestling pedigree that you brought into the UFC really hasn't gotten the appreciation that it would deserve if we'd seen more of it?
You know what? I don't even analyze any of that. I don't. The only thing I analyze is wins and losses, and at the end of the day, I want to get better on my feet, and I want to get better in general. So at the end of the day, that's really what I focus on, is just getting better to be a better fighter all around.
One question for Alistair. I know you don't like to give particulars about your training, but could you tell us a little bit about the logistics of unexpectedly moving the camp? Obviously, the unfortunate situation with your mom, and then the testing scenario. Is it not as difficult as it might seem to move back to Holland, given that that's your home, or did it cause a disruption having to pack everything up and arrange things over there maybe on short notice?
It always is a little bit of a distraction, but I've been through a lot of my career. I have I think 65, 70 fights. So you learn how to deal with distractions, setbacks. I'm a 3-time champion, and I've been through a lot. So it's all about adaptation. I'm pretty good at that, I think.
Okay, thanks, guys.
And now we'll go to Darnell Mason with MMA Hawaii.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you very much for taking the call. Yes, most of my fight questions have already been answered, but I just want to know, when will you gentlemen be arriving in Vegas, and what are your plans for the holidays? Thank you very much.
Guys, Brock, Alistair, the question was, when do you guys plan to arrive in Vegas, and what are your plans for the holidays?
I'll go first. I'm going to be... plans for the holidays. Well, for now it's training. My mother has another test coming up this week. I'm going to celebrate Christmas here, and immediately after Christmas I'll be flying into Vegas.
My holiday will be spent in Minnesota, and I don't know when we're heading to Vegas. One day at a time here.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and go to Matt Manzella from CageReligion.com.
Good afternoon, guys. This one's for Alistair. Alistair, a lot of people are making this fight out to be a case of a great striker versus a great wrestler. But do you feel that people are kind of overlooking your submission game for this fight, being as though you've had 19 career victories by submission?
Yeah, people tend to look at the last couple of years. Even then I had some submissions. I can say I'm an all-round fighter. I do everything. I got wrestling, I got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I got striking. My striking is something that I focused on because of the K1. My striking obviously got a lot better because of the K1. And the fact that I prefer knockout over submission. So any time. I think everybody does.
Thanks a lot, Alistair. I appreciate it.
And now we'll go to Spencer Lazaro with MMA Interviews.
This question is for Alistair. I was just curious to see. Well, I was going to ask about the submissions there actually a little bit, but if you were to pull a submission, what submission do you think would be most likely to pull on a guy of Brock's size?
Yeah, I can't talk about that stuff because then I give away my training, and I don't give away my training. Sorry, man.
Okay, no worries. And Brock, I wanted to know. I know you talked about earlier on you had to pretend that you were 100% when you weren't quite there. So what is the difference in feeling now, saying you are 100% from the first go-around?
Actually feeling good. So.
What was it? Can you specify where you didn't feel well? Kind of just fatigue or?
Oh, come on, no. Yeah, absolutely. We've been through. I mean, I've answered a million questions about my health here. That's the best that you can come up with today.
Sorry about that.
I feel great. I feel very, very good. Coming into this fight, I can't score it on percentages or on scales of 1 to 10. I mean, come on, guys. I feel good.
And Alistair, for your camp, I saw that you brought in Todd Duffy, size-wise. Who else have you been working with, and can you talk about his help?
Apologies, man. I don't talk about my preparation.
Okay.
But
thanks,
my
guys.
health is good. My health is excellent. I didn't have any issues in this camp with my health.
All right, guys, before we go to the next question, I think we've adequately addressed Brock's feelings on his health and Alistair on who he's training with. So if we can keep the questions outside of that realm, I'd appreciate it. Next up, Dave Melter from Yahoo Sports.
This is for Alistair. You mentioned, doing the K1 and doing the MMA kind of at the same time and back and forth over the last 3-4 years. And I guess of late you haven't done K1, but how is that difficult? Because, they're two different sports, even though, there's similarities and everything, because most guys, concentrate on one sport. And how is the difference of doing the two sports at the same time?
Well, that's a good question. Basically, K1 is only striking. So you're only training striking. You're not training wrestling and the whole submission ground and pound thing. But I did that also on the same time because I didn't want to lose it. And in between, I had some MMA fights. I actually put some good work off in my MMA game as well, really upgrading it at the same time. But the main thing at the time was the stand-up, the striking. It really helped me. It really improved me, really improved my timing, power shots, everything. And that brought me to victory. And the techniques that I got in K1 work in MMA as well. It is slightly different, though, because K1 guys, they don't clinch. There's no danger of the takedown, so they're a little bit more relaxed on the feet. In MMA, you have to be a little bit more sharp. Round times are longer instead of 3 times 3. It's, this fight is 5 times 5. Other than that, K1 is obviously a tournament, so you have to get used to fighting multiple times in one evening, which,
From a stance standpoint, I know that like the boxing stance, for MMA isn't really that beneficial because it's easy to be taken down. I mean, is the kind of like footwork and stuff that you would do in K1, is some of it relevant to MMA, or do you have to like kind of make adjustments because again, especially who you're facing a really good takedown guy?
Yeah, and I would go so far to say that in every aspect you have to make small adjustments because it is different. Combinations are different because you here there's just more danger. I would say that K1, for me, being somebody who looks at all factors, all techniques, was more simple than MMA. MMA is just so much more to worry about. I mean, you have the Brazilians with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you have the Americans with the wrestling. Here in Holland, the MMA fighters are more strikers. In Japan, they have crazy submissions. So it's every area in the world has its own distinction. And, well, again, fortunately for me, I've been fighting a long time. I've been fighting basically everywhere. I can truly call myself an all-round MMA fighter.
Now, did you, because, you won the K1. I mean, as far as in the last year, was there any talk of you doing K1, or was this whole year just concentrating on MMA, or did you have K1 offers and they just fell through because K1's a mess?
K1 was having financial difficulties. They were going to do an event, but at the time I already signed with UFC. Basically, this year has been MMA only.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks very much. And once again, that's star one if you do have a question. And now we'll go to Elliot Oshansky with UltimateFighter.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. First question for Brock. Talked a little bit earlier about being in the arena for the Fox fight, and that was an opportunity. The opportunity that Junior had that night was one. That was supposed to be the one that was up for grabs when you and he coached against each other on the Ultimate Fighter. Obviously, your illness threw things off there. But was there ever a feeling watching that fight that night, because you were slated to fight Junior for that opportunity, that it should have? Did you ever feel like it should have been you when you were watching the fight?
No, I can't say that. I mean, I can't say that I agree. No, I mean, under the circumstances, I didn't sit there and vision myself out there at all. I guess it was just, I had health issues, and I understood that. So I'm happy for Junior, and but I believe someday I'll get my chance at that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I wanted to ask about is while you've been going through this, I know that your protege from the Ultimate Fighter, Tony Ferguson, has come out to Minnesota a couple of times to train for his fights. Does seeing someone take his first steps in the UFC like Tony's been doing, does it change your perspective at all on fighting and your career? Does seeing someone who's in an earlier stage do anything for your approach or perspective on fighting?
Tony's a great kid. He's a great guy. We saw a lot of talent in him in the beginning, and I was just glad that he was able to be successful and to, a lot of guys enter that show and with hopes of being the next UFC star, and so Tony was able to overcome all the obstacles, and now he's able to have some success in life, and that's unfortunately only one guy could win the show, and there was a lot of other talented kids on the show, but I'm happy for Tony. Tony's a good guy, and I wish him the best.
But in terms of watching him train, because I know he spent some of his time at Death Clutch, watching him take his first steps, does it do anything for how you look at fighting or anything like that?
Well, I think we all have our own different ways of approaching fighting, but I see a lot of Tony's a very hungry fighter, and I see that, and I am as well. So, no, I really, there's no comparison really. I mean, other than that we're both hungry and we both have a strong will to win.
All right, those are my questions. Thank you very much.
And John Morgan with MMAJunkie.com has our next question.
Thank you. I want to ask both of you guys, and maybe we can start with Brock. With all the outside distractions and discussions, I think a lot is lost that this is the number one contender fight. Can you talk about what the opportunity really means for you and what that contender fight means? And have you started to think about how you match up with the champ and look to that fight?
No, because I can't overlook Alistair, and any fighter that that overlooks their next opponent is not a very good thing to do.
And Alistair, could I ask you as well, what the opportunity this number one contender fight means, and have you started to look forward at all to the champion?
Well, I'm very happy with the opportunity that I got fighting Brock. I think it's a dream match for not only myself, but for the fans as well. It's a great opportunity to fight for the title after this, but like Brock says, you shouldn't overlook your opponent. If I do dwell on the prospect a little bit, I think style-wise, Dos Santos and me is going to be an excellent fight, striker versus striker. I think with my experience, I should have the upper hand. I have to say, he's very dangerous with his hands. He's got a knockout in both punches. He's clever. He's fast. I'm looking forward to fight him after Brock.
And also, if I could follow up real quick, what was the opportunity to fight for the UFC title mean to you? I mean, obviously you fought around the world and had a number of belts and championships and titles in various sports. What would the UFC championship mean to you?
Well, UFC is the biggest promotion out there today, and biggest by far. I mean, they have the best stacked heavyweight division. The UFC title is the thing that's missing on my collection. Basically, I've cleaned up everything outside of the UFC. I went to the K1 and got the K1 title, which already was an extraordinary achievement, which I'm very proud of. The UFC title is missing. That's the only thing that for me that's there to achieve. So.
Absolutely. If I could follow up with Brock real quick as well. Brock, can you talk about what winning the belt would mean to you a second time around? Obviously, you've been in this position where you're on the cusp before, but is there any more drive or a different feel this time around as you're trying to get it back?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm under all the circumstances I've gone through. This is an opportunity that not too many people get. So I'm excited about it. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you both, gentlemen.
And we have time for two more questions. We'll go now to Bill Torres with MMA Meltdown.
Yeah, hello. This phone call is for Brock and Alistair Overeem. We'd like to find out, what music do you guys actually listen to when you work out? Can you maybe name a couple of songs, a couple of bands?
Well, usually at our gym here, it usually is something house. The trend here in Holland is house music. It's actually becoming popular in the States, some areas of the States, New York, Miami, L.A. I can tell you, there was a day that I could tell you the name of the DJs, but I'm so dedicated on training, I'm not going out. I've only been out twice in 2011, so I'm totally out of the DJ songs. I don't know. I have no idea what their name is. But it's house. Generally it's house, trance, that sort of stuff.
And now we'll go to Matthew Ryder with Bleacher Report.
Hi, this is for Alistair. I'm just wondering if you might be able to, sort of speak to the way that this year has broken down for you. I mean, I've probably never seen an athlete go through so much when you factor in, the stuff with K1 last year, and then Dream, Strikeforce, being sold to Zuffa, and then right on up through until, the stuff with Golden Glory and your management, and and agreeing to fight Brock. Your mom, everything. I mean, it's been an insane year. I'm just wondering if you could sort of speak to the up and down nature of that and sort of where your head was at when you were going through all that stuff.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride, and actually already started a year and a half ago after the Brett Rogers fight. Already the media attention was huge. K1 after that, I won the title. I stayed in Japan to do a lot of media appearances. It was crazy time. Every day television shows running from studio to studio. Then New Year's Eve I fought Todd Duffy for the Dream title. Well, after that, I had Verdum, with all the media attention the Strikers GP gave. Injury in Verdum, before Verdum, after Verdum, which caused me to be out of the Strikers GP. Then back in the UFC, it indeed has been a roller coaster ride. I've got through this period. I can only thank my team. My team has been like the rock. They've taken basically all my headache away from me, so that I could still focus on training and just the few lines that I had. And that's a team thing.
All right, great, thanks.
Approximately 4 or 5 people that do everything for me: sponsorships, headaches, booking flights, everything. And my thanks, my gratitude goes out to them, because they really made this possible.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
And that's all the time we have for questions today. I'll turn it back to Dave Schaller.
Thanks, Carla, and thank you to everyone who dialed in on this holiday week. We do appreciate it. Special thanks to Brock Lesnar and Alistair Overeem. Again, UFC 141, Friday, December 30th from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. The pay-per-view starts at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And again, folks, since this is a Friday event, our media events will kick off on Tuesday, December 27th. That will be media workouts, and then Wednesday we'll have our press conference. So Tuesday 27th for workouts, Wednesday the 28th for the press conference, leading into the weigh-ins on the 29th, then the fight on the 30th. So we're going to have a big week next week. We appreciate everyone for dialing in, and we'll see you next week for UFC 141, Lesnar versus Overeem.
And ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our UFC call for today. Thank you for your participation.